Do you ever walk into a networking event, immediately feel like you don't belong, and wonder, what am I even doing here? Maybe you've tried the afterwork mixers, the business breakfasts, or those awkward online coffee chats, only to walk away feeling drained, disconnected, or worse, like you just pretended to be someone you're not for an hour straight. If that hits home, you're not alone. And I'll tell you right now, you don't have to fake it to build real professional connections. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room, constantly handing out business cards like confetti, or talk about your personal brand like you're a startup pitch deck. Because here's the truth. A lot of us, especially in our 30s and 40s, are juggling too much to waste time on things that don't feel meaningful. You've got a job to manage, maybe a family to raise, bills to pay, a life to live. The idea of networking as some polished performative ritual just doesn't fit anymore. And yet, you still want to grow. You still want to move forward in your career, open new doors, explore better opportunities. So the question becomes, how do you do that without feeling like you're selling your soul to small talk and LinkedIn likes? That's what we're unpacking today. Because I've been there too, feeling stuck in a job, watching other people move ahead, wondering if they just knew the right people or were better at schmoozing. But over time, I realized something that changed everything. Networking isn't about being fake. It's about being visible in a way that's real to you. So, in this video, I want to talk to you like a friend, maybe even like that older sibling who's been through the messy middle and found a few things that actually help. Whether you're trying to switch careers, get promoted, grow a side hustle, or just not feel so professionally invisible, there are ways to do it without pretending to be someone else. Let me start with this. Have you ever helped a coworker finish a project before a deadline, and they later recommended you for something bigger? Or shared a thoughtful article with someone in your field, and months later they reached out with an opportunity? That's networking. You just didn't label it that way. And that's the first shift. Networking isn't a performance. It's participation. It's showing up in small, authentic ways that reflect who you actually are. Let me tell you about a woman I used to work with. We'll call her Lynn. Super sharp, thoughtful, kind of quiet in big meetings. She wasn't one to work the room, but she was always paying attention. She noticed when someone was struggling, offered help without making a big deal of it, and consistently followed up when she said she would. Over time, people trusted her. They remembered her, not because she was flashy, but because she was solid. And when a management role opened up, guess who they tapped first? What Lynn did, being dependable, consistent, and caring, is the foundation of the kind of networking that actually works. It's not about charm, it's about connection. And connection doesn't have to be loud. I want you to think about this differently. Instead of asking, who should I network with? Ask, who do I want to learn from, support, or grow alongside? That flips the energy. It takes you out of the what can I get mindset and into something more human. And honestly, that's what builds trust. You don't need to attend 5 networking events this month to make that happen. You can start where you already are. Let me share something that helped me personally. A few years ago, I was feeling like I'd hit a wall. I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay in my current job, but I didn't know what was next either. I remember scrolling LinkedIn late one night, and I saw a post from someone in a different department. Just a short, thoughtful piece on leadership and burnout. It resonated. And instead of just liking it, I sent a quick message. Thanks for sharing this. It really hit home today. That message turned into a conversation. That conversation turned into coffee. And that coffee eventually led to a freelance opportunity that helped me transition into a whole new field. I didn't go in with a pitch. I didn't ask for anything. I just started a conversation, genuinely. That's it. I want to pause here and say something important. You don't have to be everywhere. You just have to be present where it counts. If you're already on social media, choose one platform, LinkedIn, for example. And instead of just scrolling or silently watching others succeed, try engaging in a way that reflects who you are. You don't need to comment on every post, but when something speaks to you, say so. When you admire someone's work, tell them. Not because you're trying to get something from them, but because it's real. That kind of authenticity is rare, and it stands out. One thing I've noticed over the years is that people remember how you make them feel. Not what you do, not your job title, not your perfectly worded bio, but whether you listened, whether you showed up, whether you made them feel seen. And that's something most of us already know how to do. We just don't always give ourselves credit for it. So if you've been avoiding networking because it feels fake, maybe it's time to call it something else. Call it connection. Call it community. Call it being human. Whatever you call it, know this: you already have what it takes to grow. You just need to give yourself permission to do it your way. And maybe today, that starts with reaching out to someone you respect, not to ask for a job, just to say, hey, I've been following your work for a while, and I appreciate it. That's it. No pressure, no pitch, just one real message. That's where it begins. And it doesn't have to end there. You know, it's funny how the smallest genuine moments can lead to the biggest shifts. That message I mentioned earlier, the one I sent to a colleague just to say thank you, I didn't think twice about it at the time. It took maybe 40 seconds, but that tiny gesture opened a door I didn't even know existed. And I think that's something a lot of people forget about. Career growth doesn't always come from bold moves. Sometimes it's built quietly in the background through the way you show up. So if we keep building on this idea of connection over performance, I want to talk about another powerful and often overlooked way to grow your network without feeling fake. Simply staying curious. That might sound basic, but stick with me. Curiosity is magnetic. When you approach people not because you want something, but because you genuinely want to understand them or learn from them, it changes the entire tone of the interaction. You're not trying to impress. You're asking questions, you're listening, and most importantly, you're seeing people, not just as potential stepping stones. Let's say you're in a meeting and someone shares an approach you hadn't considered. Instead of just nodding and moving on, you follow up afterward with something like, hey, that idea you brought up about streamlining the onboarding process, that really got me thinking. Do you mind if I ask how you came to that solution? You're not trying to network. You're being human. But what you're also doing, without even realizing it, is creating trust. You're showing that you notice, that you care, and that you're willing to learn. That sticks with people. I remember a coworker of mine, James, who was a mid-level analyst when I met him. Quiet guy, never the center of attention. But he asked great questions. Not the kind you ask to sound smart, but the kind that made you feel like he really wanted to understand what you were saying. He never tried to push himself into conversations, but he followed up thoughtfully. A quick email here, a thank you message there. Over time, people started to see him as someone worth having in the room. And when a cross-functional project came up, guess who was invited to lead it? He didn't network. He just stayed curious, stayed present, and didn't treat people like transactions. And that opened more doors than any polished elevator pitch could have. Here's the thing. Most people don't need more noise. They need more realness. They don't need to be impressed. They need to be heard. So instead of thinking about who you need to meet to get ahead, maybe ask yourself, whose story do I want to understand better? Who's doing something I admire? And what might I learn if I just reached out, not to sell myself, but to ask questions? It doesn't have to be deep. It just has to be honest. Let me tell you another story. This time about a woman I met during a panel event. Her name was Maria. She came up to me after I spoke, and instead of saying, "Great talk," she said, "That part where you mentioned burning out while trying to please everyone at work, that hit hard. I've been struggling with the same thing. How did you learn to set better boundaries?" It stopped me in my tracks, in a good way. It was real. She didn't put on a mask. She just shared something honest and asked a heartfelt question. And we ended up talking for almost 30 minutes. She wasn't trying to network. She was trying to connect. And because of that, I remembered her. When someone in my industry later asked if I knew any strong candidates for a mentoring program, guess who came to mind? When you lead with curiosity and honesty, it creates a ripple effect. You don't always see it right away, but people remember that energy. They remember how you made them feel. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, that's all well and good, but what if I'm introverted? Or what if I'm not comfortable reaching out to people like that? And I get it. Truly, Because a lot of the traditional advice out there feels like it's built for extroverts, those who love to work the room, who light up in social settings. But here's the quiet truth. You don't have to be extroverted to be effective. You just have to be intentional. You can pick your moments. You don't have to talk to everyone, just the right few. You don't have to reach out daily, just consistently. And you don't have to fake confidence. You can show up with kindness, clarity, and calm. That is powerful. Sometimes the best way to network is to listen more than you speak, to notice what others miss, to follow up when others forget, to be the one who says, "I read what you wrote and it meant something to me." That's not just enough. It's more than enough, because people are drawn to those who see them. And being seen is what we all really want, isn't it? So if you're sitting there thinking, "I don't have a big network," or "I've never been good at promoting myself," I want you to pause and take stock of who's already around you. Start with who you already know. A former coworker, an old classmate, someone you collaborated with on a project years ago. Reach out, not to ask for a favor, just to reconnect. See how they're doing. Ask about their path. Share a piece of yours. We often overlook the connections we already have because we're chasing new ones. But sometimes the best opportunities come not from expanding your circle, but from nourishing it. And if you're still unsure where to begin, start with a message you'd want to receive. Think about that. What kind of message would make your day? What kind of message would feel genuine, not pushy or awkward? Now go send that to someone else. That one action might not change your whole career overnight, but it just might start a chain of events you didn't expect. And even if it doesn't, you'll know you showed up with honesty, not artifice. That's a win, and there's more than one way to keep building on it. By now, you might be realizing that what we've been calling networking all along. Maybe it was never about passing out business cards or collecting followers. Maybe it's really about how you show up in the world and how that draws people towards you, not because you're trying to prove something, but because you're simply being someone worth knowing. And that brings me to one last, often misunderstood part of real connection: being visible without being performative. Let's talk about that, because it's a tricky balance, especially in this era where we're constantly being told to build your brand or put yourself out there. But what if you don't want to be a brand? What if you just want to grow in your career, be respected for your work, and feel like your contributions actually matter without turning into some kind of walking pitch deck? Here's the good news. You don't need to go viral to be visible. You just need to start letting your work and your values be seen in small, intentional ways. Let me explain with something personal. For years, I kept my head down. I worked hard, kept quiet, did what was asked of me. I thought if I just did good work, people would notice. And sometimes they did. But more often than not, they didn't. I wasn't invisible because I wasn't good. I was invisible because I never gave anyone a window into what I cared about or what I was trying to grow into. Once I started doing little things, sharing lessons I'd learned, offering to speak on panels, writing a post now and then about a challenge I'd overcome at work, things changed. Not overnight, but steadily. People began reaching out, not because I was doing anything flashy, but because I was showing up in ways that felt like me. You don't have to do it all. Maybe it's just commenting thoughtfully on someone's post once a week. Maybe it's saying yes to presenting at your team meeting, even if it makes you nervous. Maybe it's just letting someone know, "Hey, I've been working on this project and I'd love your perspective." That's what visibility looks like when it's grounded in integrity, not performance. And here's a simple truth. People can't support you if they don't know what you care about. They can't recommend you for a job, invite you into a conversation, or offer you help if they don't have any idea what you're reaching for. So take a breath and ask yourself, what do I want to be known for? Not in a flashy way, but in a real one. Do you want to be known as someone who brings clarity to complex problems? Someone who mentors others with patience and heart? Someone who follows through, even when it's hard? Then start letting people see that through your actions, through your voice, and yes, sometimes even through your presence online. But keep it real. There's something incredibly powerful about being the same person online that you are offline. It builds trust, it builds momentum, And over time, it builds a reputation you don't have to hustle to maintain. Now, I want to pause here and acknowledge something important, because I know that for many of you, especially if you're juggling kids, aging parents, demanding jobs, maybe even dealing with burnout or anxiety, the idea of putting yourself out there can feel like one more exhausting thing on a never-ending to-do list. So let me offer you this. You don't have to network your way to success. You just have to live and lead in alignment with who you are, and let that be seen in ways that fit your life. If you're in a season where time is tight, that's okay. Maybe once a month you reach out to a former colleague and say, "Thinking of you. Let me know if I can support you in anything." That counts. Maybe you show up fully in one meeting this week, ask a question you've been afraid to ask, and leave a thoughtful comment after. That counts. Maybe you tell someone in your circle what you're working toward, and you let yourself receive encouragement instead of brushing it off. That counts too. You don't have to be the most visible person. You just have to be visible enough to the right people, people who value what you value, and who see the difference you make, even in quiet ways. Because at the end of the day, real networking, the kind that actually matters, isn't about collecting contacts. It's about building community. It's about forming relationships that feel natural, mutual, and meaningful over time. And when you take that approach, when you stop trying to network and start simply connecting, learning, and showing up, you'll notice something shifts. People will start thinking of you when opportunities arise. They'll remember that thoughtful thing you said. They'll recall how you made them feel when no one else was really listening. They'll recommend you, support you, invite you, not because you asked, but because you showed up. So, if you've been avoiding networking because it feels fake or overwhelming, I hope you leave this video with a different view. You don't have to be someone else to move forward. You don't have to play a part. You just have to take small, consistent steps that are true to who you are. That's how you grow a career that lasts. That's how you find people who align with your values. And that's how you stop feeling like you're on the outside of your own journey, because you start writing it with intention, not performance. If any of this resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Tell me, what's one real connection you're going to make this week? Or what's one way you're planning to show up more authentically in your career? And if this helped you in any way, feel free to give the video a like or share it with someone else who's tired of the fake it till you make it game. We're not here to fake it anymore. We're here to build something real. And remember, your story isn't stuck. You're not behind. You're just getting started. I'm rooting for you.